Kieran Gillen and Valerio Schiti begin the Judgement Day as Druig launches his multi-stage attack on the mutants as the Avengers try and piece together what could make Sersi and her friends turn their back on their entire society and gods. Kieran Gillen begins the much teased and built up Judgement Day with one hell of an opening salvo, getting right into the war between Eternals and X-Men with the Avengers caught right in the middle. I loved how, like parts of his Eternal run, Gillen focused in on Druig and his schemes, especially now that he is the prime Eternal and leader of the Eternals, and we get to see how his plans on killing off the mutants are developing and how throughout the 12 issues and 3 specials that Gillen wrote for the Eternals, we see parts of those plans take fruition, like Uranos being a big part of the plan. Gillen also wonderfully tied what is happening in the X books at the moment to all of this as well, specifically the stuff Jerry Duggan has been doing in his X-Men and X-Men Red books, with Orchis planning on attacking the mutants and the mutants' secret resurrections being outed to the public by Ben Urich, using it as a base to stoke the hatred for the mutants and make the Eternals seem like some sort of guardian angels for humanity there to protect them, despite them actually being the ones who are killing the humans every time an Eternal is reborn. It's proper Game of Thrones, deadly, politically charged situations, and Gillen is utilizing all the parts of this story really well in this first issue, giving every side their fair share and not really painting anyone as a legitimate villain. Everyone has their own reasons, and pretty sound reasons, for doing what they are doing, besides Uranos of course, who just loves genocide. Valerio Schiti comes over from the X-Men books for the big event and doesn't skip a beat, capturing all of the cinematic and grand action of the issue and balancing it out with some really great character-driven exposition sequences. Valerio also introduces us to the Hexes properly this issue. We've kind of heard about them here and there through the Eternals book, but here we're given a great look at them and they look really cool, very alien and very Eternal-esque forms to help differentiate themselves from the Celestials, but also make them very familiar to the Celestials, since of course they are very much related to the Celestials, so I'm very much intrigued to learn a bit more about these characters throughout this event. Judgement Day issue 1 was a great kickoff to the big Marvel event of 2022, giving each of the 3 factions involved equal time to play throughout the issue, expanding on all of their already fantastic storylines from their ongoing books, while also adding in some new exciting elements like the Hexes to them all. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10. Judgement Day issue 1 finds the disembodied voice of an unknown being looking out into the world and finding itself staring at the ants that are humans, wanting to find out who are the heroes of Earth and wanting to find out with us. In New York, Tony Stark meets with Sersi, wondering why they are going to be fighting soon. Sersi hopes she can finish her drink first, but she would more likely pick a fight with the mutants first, sarcastically calling them plagiarists, since returning to life is an Eternals thing. Tony knows that she isn't going to make this easy as Phoenix smashes into Sersi, grabbing her and speeding into orbit, knocking Sersi out from the speed, as Captain Marvel tells Tony that their target has been pacified. In the treehouse, Cyclops spots Phoenix, finding it odd to see it be an Avenger now, and it feels strange to be possessive over something like that. Jean, however, is too distracted by all the people protesting the mutants outside for hoarding their secret to immortality. Cyclops tells her that they were meant to be showing the world that they were still X-Men and still protecting them, but there is always hate and fear. Jean thinks it's just jealousy, not needing to read their minds to see it, as she points out a young crying woman whose daughter is dead, yet the mutants keep coming back. Jean wonders what they can say, so Scott tells her that they can tell them the truth and that the Five can only bring back so many people. Even if they wanted to, they couldn't bring back everyone, and it's not like everyone has stopped killing mutants. On Krakoa, Destiny tells Nightcrawler and Mystique that there will be war, but there will always be war, no matter what, and the precise details of the war are the problems she is having, but she knows Orchis is ready for a fight, but it's not them. Nightcrawler thinks that she's just being a cynic as Mystique bickers with her son about it. Destiny soon, however, gets another vision, finding that the Eternals will try and kill them. The trio rush to gather the council and act quickly and quietly not to sound the alarm. Nightcrawler heads to Arakko, wanting to take a second to marvel at the fact that they terraformed Mars, finding it to be a gift. Kurt soon finds the Brotherhood and Storm tells him to stop calling the planet Mars. Magneto reminds him that the monarch of Mars is what allowed the breathable air on the planet, but Storm reminds him that she is not a monarch and it was a team effort. Kurt fills them in on the possible war with the Eternals and that the Council is about to meet, meaning Storm is needed in both locations. Magneto says he'll fill in for her position on the Great Ring with Kurt, as Cable knows that he's got some ideas on how to deal with the Eternals, but Kurt reminds him that they can't die and neither can the Eternals, wondering why the Eternals have a problem with them now. Cable thinks that they will deal with them like how the Olympians dealt with the Titans, since they are the world's new gods, not the Eternals. At Avengers Mountain, Iron Man awakens Sersi, telling her that they are in a psychic dead room in the middle of the Avengers Mountain, meaning that she can't call for help. Sersi morphs into her costume as she tells him that she's a minor psychic but a world-class matter manipulator, and she could give him a stroke by thickening his blood just enough so that no one would notice and think that it was just something that was going to happen to Tony anyway. Tony tells her to stop posturing since it isn't helping her situation. Sersi wants Tony to show her what he knows, so Tony boots up holograms of the Eternals sneaking into the mountain last month, but wants to cut the crap since they both know they've been in the game long enough to know that stuff happens. He knows though that it was only when their mission failed did they tell them the truth, that Thanos was on Earth and he was leading the Eternals and about to destroy the planet. Tony knows that they deliberately kept that from them and Sersi isn't even sorry about it, but Sersi says there are only things Eternals can know and only they could stop Thanos, and they did. Tony however thinks there is another doomsday at their doorstep and the Eternals are hiding it from them, but Sersi just wants to know what they have. Someone tells Tony this isn't the way to do it, wanting to come in, but Tony warns them that he'll be exposed to a telepath as Captain America arrives, saying Sersi was an Avenger so they need to give her some trust. Steve asks her to tell them what she knows, but Sersi says war is more likely now thanks to them strapping her to an uncomfortable chair. Cap doesn't say a word, making Sersi realize that he's right about a war, wondering what Druig has done and what the Avengers know. Tony shows them that since Thanos was on Earth, he's been keeping an eye on the Eternals, and last week there was a huge spike in celestial energy in the Pacific Ocean which cut out instantly, as if someone was testing something. Sersi knows that celestial energies don't mean wars, but Tony says in the last 24 hours that they have been tracking some low-level pulses, almost like something is warming up and coming from beneath the Earth. Sersi says she isn't part of this and Eternals aren't a team, they are a society, one her and her friends have left, so they don't need to worry about them. Druig meanwhile meets with the other leaders of the Eternals, explaining to them how mutants are just another form of excess deviation since the X gene came from the Deviants, and since they have been recently colonizing Mars and also beaten death, they need to be corrected. He puts forth a plan to end them and the vote is unanimous, so later Druig tells Uranos about the meeting and how it was so melodramatic. Uranos thinks that the role Druig is playing now is too big for him, but Druig doesn't care, telling Uranos that for the first time in hundreds of thousands of years, he's going to be let out for 1 hour, having coded machine to teleport him back into the exclusion after his hour is up. Uranos decides that he will target Mars, wanting to see what he can get done in 1 hour compared to what humans and mutants can do in that time. Later on at the Damocles Foundation HQ, Druig tells Moira McTaggart that while his leash on Uranos is uncertain, he needs him for his plan to slap the mutant's wrist. He appreciates her information though, surprised that she would betray her friends so entirely. Moira says that she lived long enough to see enemies turn into friends and vice versa, and Orchis wants to help all causes that align with pro-human anti-mutant sentiments. Druig knows that technically they aren't anti-mutant, just anti-deviant, but Moira knows it's the same thing. Druig wants to know about Moira, learning that she founded Krakoa, giving the mutants everything they could want, and then they cast her out for all her work. She tells them that she should have mentioned while Mystique would burn it all down, if Destiny wasn't brought back, she would also do the same. Druig likes that she has a grudge against them as the Quiet Council assemble to talk about the Eternals. Xavier knows that the Eternals hold no grudge against them that they know of, expecting Orchis to attack, and they know they aren't prepared for war. Exodus notes that Mr. Sinister is gone, suspecting him of something suspicious, wanting to just purge him from the council, when suddenly the council are overcome by a mental assault of significant magnitude. The Eternals' Uni-Mind begins to assault the mutant island as the mutants defend themselves and their peers with psychic assaults of their own. Moira thinks that Druig will need to create more confusion, and luckily Druig has that covered as an attack flight descend on the island, attacking the mutants as the X-Men arrive to fight back. Moira doesn't think the X-Men being there is ideal, but Druig knows it wasn't worth sending their stealth forces to New York, wanting to focus on Krakoa, which is the smart play. Moira knows that while most of the Krakoan mutants are easy targets, Arakko will be harder to deal with, but Druig doesn't think so, as on Arakko, the Great Ring sees a bright light as Kirk tells them all to get out of there, but it's too late for them. Druig says that they also plan on targeting the 5 mutants responsible for bringing mutants back to life, as on the island, Wolverine battles through the Eternals assault team, finding that Egg has been killed, as Druig knows that without the 5, Krakoa will fall into chaos. Wolverine soon finds Jack of Knives is responsible for the assassination of Egg, as well as the attempt on the 5, telling him that he found the hidden Eternal thanks to Egg's blood on his blades. Jack hurls blades at Hope, but Logan dives in front of them, setting himself ablaze as Jack teleports away, unable to kill Hope. Logan calls out to Jean, telling her that the 5 are under attack. The mutants secure the 5 as Druig realizes that Jack failed in his mission, but at least he won't have to pay him his murder bonus. Moira thinks that he blew his chance, but Druig tells her to have some patience since he has more plans in motion. At the Arbor Magna, Egg is brought back to life thanks to the eggs he already had made before the attack, as Logan tells Jean that they need Beast, Brand, and Cable on this. Nightcrawler soon teleports in, revealing that all hell has broken loose on Arakko. Kurt tells them to bring back the mutants as Hope asks where her father is. Cable is brought back to life in the Magna, demanding to know what happened, as on Arakko, Uranus has laid waste to the entirety of the Red Planet, assembling the bones and bodies of the dead into a giant X as he teleports back to his cell in the Exclusion, where he tells Druig that the gates to Earth on Mars have been destroyed and much of the power structure on Arakko is gone. Druig thinks that Uranus is good in every way but ethically, making the being wonder if Druig will let him do it again. Druig says it's not that bad yet, and he'll use the hexes before he uses Uranus again. Uranus demands to be let out, knowing that he will try and spare a hemisphere if he is. The Avengers meanwhile learn of the attack on Krakoa, getting energy spikes all over the western seaboard as Druig broadcasts a message out to everyone's phones, TVs, and other electrical devices, telling them that the mutants are a threat and they are clearly aiming for dominion over everything, apologizing for letting them get this far, but he wants to assure the people the Eternals will protect them as always. The people begin to celebrate as something giant emerges from the ocean, prompting Druig to tell the people not to be afraid of the towering death machines, since they aren't really towering death machines anyway. They are the Hex, and they are Eternals as well, and they are there to protect the people, but he also warns the people in the coastal regions to head inland as fast as they can, since things will get messy. Captain America assembles the Avengers, telling them that they are keeping Sersi locked up until she tells them the thing that she isn't telling them, not stating why her and her friends have left the Eternals, and they want to know why. Iron Man's intrusion alarms soon go off, prompting him to speed to their location as he finds Ajax, Makari, and the captured Mr. Sinister have teleported in. Ajax says that she doesn't mean any disrespect, but the holy war Druig has started made her move up her timetable. She tells Tony of the 2 possibilities before them, saying Eternals cannot be defeated as long as the world exists. Tony wants to know what Plan B is, learning Ajax wants to build their own god, wanting Tony's help. Tony says while he is pro-hubris, how are they going to build a god in just a few hours? Ajax tells Tony to look around Avengers Mountain, since they have everything they need right there in the dead Celestial.